Hello, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I am Agius from Eurogeographics. For those of you who are not familiar with Eurogeographics, we are the voice of the European National Mapping, Cadastral and Land Registry authorities. We bring together national authorities from the whole of geographical Europe in a unique international membership association. We are the voice of Europe's national mapping, cadastral and land registration authorities and demonstrate their role in delivering better data for better lives. We work in partnership with our members to facilitate access to their authoritative geospatial data and integrate it into a sustainable infrastructure for the public good. Eurogeographics believes in a society empowered by the use of trusted geospatial services from national sources. And to do this, we facilitate access to our members' geospatial data and to pan-European geospatial datasets. As an independent international not-for-profit association which supports the public good, we also represent our members' interests and provide forums for sharing knowledge and expertise that help support and improve our members' capabilities and role. And in fact, our members fulfill an essential role providing official, definitive and detailed geospatial information for the public good, which support a wide range of applications, as we shall see in this presentation. So I have mentioned it a few times already. What is authoritative data, trusted data? And on the screen, we have two definitions. One is based on a study carried out by us together with EuroSDR and KU11 in 2018, and the paper that was published in October of 2019 on authoritative data in a European context, and is based on a survey which we carried out with our members, European NMCAs. And the second definition that you see on the screen was used in a white paper issued by the UNGIM Working Group on Policy and Legal Frameworks for the Geospatial Information Management in August of 2020. The paper that was issued then was on the legal aspects of availability of geospatial information. If you look at the definitions, they have some similarities. They're not exactly the same, but they have some similarities. And basically, what they're saying is broadly that authoritative data is provided on behalf of a public body that has an official mandate. The data is of a known criteria to ensure high quality. It's required to be used and reused by the public sector and society as a whole. So there are specific characteristics that describe authoritative data. Now that we know what we mean by authoritative data, why are they important? Well, authoritative data underpin critical national infrastructures, such as legal, fiscal, planning, security, to mention a few. I remember data is the backbone of policy making. It is important for evidence-based decisions taken on national policy, for example, on health, environment, civil protection, etc. So basically, authoritative data are official, they are reliable, comparable, and importantly, they are verifiable. And maybe it's easier to demonstrate why it is important to use authoritative data by showing some of examples of what happens when you don't use authoritative data. We can call them alternative data. So in the first example that I have on the screen, we have a rather embarrassing case when Eurostat, in their 2004 yearbook, had a design issue which caused them to lose Wales from the map of Europe. And remember that Eurostat issue official statistics of Europe. So an error like this does not look very good. And in fact, it can cause reputational damage. The second case is not really a loss of reputation, but it entails a loss of property. The demolition company used a data source that was not an official source. There was an error in this data set, and some unlucky person lost their home. And then we have a case of an international dispute between Nicaragua and Costa Rica, the origins of which can be traced back to Google Maps error that said the territory actually belonging to Costa Rica belonged to Nicaragua. There was a problem, there's an error in the border. As a result of this, Nicaraguan troops actually invaded Costa Rica, removed the flag, and in fact, the Organization of American States and the UN Security Council were actually called in to mediate on the border dispute. They did find an error on the map, or rather the data set. And these are maybe some examples that maybe make us realize that data, or rather what data a user uses to choose, can have consequences. So now let us turn to authoritative data. Our members and MCAs in Europe are the official national sources of geospatial data. They are responsible for geodetic surveying, topographic mapping, cadastral surveys, and land registration. We all know that NMCAs are the producers of national high-quality geospatial data, and our members provide many examples of their output. But maybe what is not so obvious is that the role of national mapping, cadastral and land registry agencies is not just the production of mapping data. Their authoritative quality assured data underpins national issues meeting societal needs in many ways that are maybe not immediately obvious to the wider audience. So I'd like to show you some examples. Here we have examples of data from NMCAs being used to underpin societal needs. We also have some examples of them providing secure and reliable land administration, providing emergency planning and environmental monitoring, providing online services for citizens and supporting public administration, and also supporting European data and geospatial and global policy with their national input. I know I've whizzed through these case studies on how authoritative data are used in various national contexts, but you can find the detail in our website where all these case studies are available. And at this particular point in time, we cannot not mention the contribution of authoritative data to the national response to this global pandemic we're all living through. COVID-19 is showing the real value of geospatial information, of bringing data together from statistical, health information, civil protection, linking them with location information to keep a concerned public informed and updated on the progress or otherwise of the pandemic. And the example we have on the screen is from Ireland. It is an excellent example of a COVID-19 dashboard. And this site is a collaboration between the Ordnance Survey Ireland and other authorities, the All Ireland Research Observatory, the Health Protection Surveillance Centre, the Health Service Executive, the Central Statistics Office, the Health Intelligence Unit, and the Department of Health. So a collaboration of various authorities coming together to provide authoritative data to a concerned public. And like this example, there are many across the different countries in Europe and indeed the world. So now I'd like to take a step back. We have seen how trusted data are the basis for many national initiatives, services, and efforts. And if we take a step back from the national focus and we look at a regional, maybe a continental pan-European view, we realize that many regional policies also require reliable geospatial information, and policies such as migration, climate change, demography, energy, emergency services, health, to mention just a few. We don't look at borders. These emergencies and challenges are cross borders and countries. So the challenge is in bringing the national authoritative data together from a national level to then help solve the regional level issues. And in fact, we produce harmonized geospatial data from our members using official geospatial data, and then these are used to produce authoritative data of pan-European information that can be used then for policies at regional and European scale. So some examples of these uses include the example we have now on the screen, which is from Eurostat, the statistical atlas, which is used to visualize statistical data. So this data helps Eurostat publish official European statistics. And another example, which is also a COVID-19 dashboard. So here we have, again, like the many national examples, the European Centre of Disease Prevention and Control has its own COVID-19 situation dashboard, this time at a continental level, keeping citizens informed and providing them the data, which is all collated and collected from national sources to the citizens. And then we have an example of trusted data used by the European Court of Auditors, which in this case was investigating the return on investment on public spending on airport infrastructures in Spain. And if we had to take a step further beyond the regional, the continental level to the global level, we know that the world is facing global challenges. In fact, we're living through one now. for which we have global policies and agenda, such as the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It has 17 global goals and 169 associated targets and a number of indicators, a large number of indicators, and of which a large percentage have a geographical element. We have the Sendai framework, which is the global roadmap for reducing human and economic loss as a direct result of disasters. Maybe the one that is the most well known is the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, aiming to strengthen the global response to the threat of climate change and the ability of countries to deal with the impact, the new urban agenda. And of course, we have the COVID-19 challenge. And not only do these challenges require international collaboration between almost 200 UN member states and various global organizations and agencies, they also need an unprecedented amount of data, including statistical, geospatial, and Earth observation data, which is sometimes has to be disaggregated by income, gender, age, location, and other characteristics. So to be able to meet these global and to meet and to address these global challenges, I'd like to now come to the United Nations Committee on Global Geospatial Information Management, also known as UNGIM, which is aiming at playing a leading role in setting the global agenda on global geospatial information management, and to promote this data to address key global challenges. And in fact, UNGIM, it was through UNGIM that the United Nations General Assembly in 2015 adopted the first resolution that globally recognizes the importance of a globally coordinated approach to geodesy, which is a global geodetic reference frame for sustainable development. UNGIM also helped the global adoption of a minimum list of 14 global fundamental geospatial data teams, which are considered to be fundamental in strengthening a country's geospatial information infrastructure. And basically, the implementation of these teams necessitates the integration of information from national mapping agencies with statistical organizations and other institutions to produce standardized fundamental data within member states, and for which there is also a global statistical geospatial framework to facilitate this data integration. There's the integrated geospatial information framework to help countries manage and put together an integrated framework for the management of geospatial information. We also have the group of experts on geographical names, which is helping to bring together authorities to standardize geographical names, as these are considered key for accessing information in a globalized world. And these are just a few of the tools that are being put forward to help us to use geospatial information to address various global challenges. And here we have an example of Europe's authoritative second administrative level boundaries being included within the UN program that is compiling a global database of these data from authoritative sources. So we had to look ahead. The realization is that the need for data is ever increasing, and that the need for trustworthy, quality, and official data, authoritative data, will continue to grow. And while the demand for more can be met with volumes of data, we live in a data-rich world after all. We have seen that there are cases where authoritative data are required. So what's next? We know that there have been restrictions and barriers to using and accessing authoritative data, be they technical, legal, for example, licenses, and other issues. And I should mention that there are various initiatives and actions that are addressing these barriers, and that there is a drive to making data from public authorities, authoritative data, more accessible to the user. And in fact, many of our members in European NMCAs are already making their data open and accessible, especially through geoportals. And by simplifying this access to their data, the authoritative data from authoritative sources are helping driving applications to realize a wide range of social, economic, and environmental benefits. And of course, besides, of course, making it more efficient and quicker and providing secure, reliable land information to the end user. And in fact, European legislation is also moving in that direction, and you might be familiar with the PSI Directive, the Public Sector Information Directive, which has been recast as the Open Data Directive. And the directive introduces the concept of high-value data sets, defined as documents, data, the use of which is associated with important benefits for society and economy. And one of the things that they are ensuring is that this data are available free of charge and in machine-readable formats. And one of the thematic categories of high-value data sets is geospatial data. There's also environmental observation. There's also Earth observation and statistics amongst this list of high-value data sets. And in the vein of open data, there is a project, the Open Maps for Europe, which will signpost and provide easy access to pan-European data sets created using official map, geospatial and land information. The project is coordinated by Eurogeographics in partnership with the National Geographic Institute, NGI Belgium. It will run until the end of December 2022 and is co-financed by the Connecting Europe facility of the European Union. And if we had to look at some examples of how open data use cases using authoritative pan-European data are of benefit to society and different use cases, I have two on the screen. One is from the European River Commissions, where we have 4 river commissions who are using a pan-European data set, the Euro Global Map, to report on their respective river basins within the Water Framework Directive. And you will of course know that the rivers, the Danube, the Elbe, the Oder and the Rhine run through many different countries. I can't remember how many. So of course it's a pan-European example. And then we have the European Commission, the DG Energy and Transport, which is using, again, a pan-European data set to provide an overview of the European region to help aiding the planning and monitoring and review process of the trans-European transport networks. So we live in a data-driven society. Everything that happens somewhere. So much of the data that is collected has a spatial element. And of course, all data sets have their uses, and NMCAs are not the only providers of geospatial data, but they are the providers of data that is authoritative, that is trustworthy. So it's important to know that the data that you are using, it's important to know its provenance, its quality, and importantly, what do you want to use it for? In some cases, it has to be authoritative data because the reason warrants it, because that is when it is critical that we use data that we can trust. Thank you.